I had so much fun with anomalies already. From Maddie the Betty to creating the most cursed rumble that ever existed, the anomaly is quickly becoming one of my favorite set mechanics. And you know the best part? There are still a ton of discoveries left to make. In this video, I will showcase some of my findings and hopefully give you some ideas on potentially new fun comps to try. But before we get started, it turns out that most of my viewers belong to some sort of a Dango cult. If you want to avoid being part of a Dango supremacy, then why not hit the subscribe button and support this channel by becoming a duck build supporter. Anyway, let's talk about interesting things you can do in set 13. Let's kick things off with the anomaly Into the Unknown. When you select this anomaly, your unit will disappear for 3 rounds and return in stage 5-2 with a bonus of 50 AP and 50 AD. So far, this was not the most well-liked anomaly, because why would you want to remove your main carry for 3 rounds this late into the game just to receive a slight power increase? Lucky for you, there is a workaround for this problem. When selecting an anomaly, you're not buffing a specific unit, you're buffing all of them. This is why if you sell the unit who has the anomaly, you can simply buy it in the shop and the effect will return. In this case, what you can do is to take a 1-star copy of your carry and have that one disappear into the unknown. Now you can continue to play your main carry, and once the copy returns in stage 5-2, you simply move your main carry to the bench and back on the board, and now it has the bonus stats for the rest of the game. You might have seen one of my videos showcasing Wasteland Jinx, which is an incredibly fun comp that requires an early Jinx with the anomaly Nothing Wasted. When an ally dies, Jinx will gain 100% of their current mana, often resulting in her casting all 3 rotations in one go. Frontline units like Scar or Elise are perfect for this because they need a lot of mana to cast, meaning you can sacrifice them as 1-star to feed as much mana as possible into Jinx. But what happens if you combine this with artifacts like Trickster's Glass or Suspicious Trenchcoat? Trickster's Glass especially sounds really interesting, since the increased mana gain would actually work in your favor. Now, I did test this interaction, and sadly it looks like summoned units do not interact with Nothing Wasted. If I end up finding an exception to this rule, I will post it in a future video. From all of the anomalies, I think it's safe to say that Deeproot is my favorite. Quite frankly, I could make a whole video about all of the different interactions that I found, but for now, let's just stick to the basics on how this anomaly actually works. Your unit receives a ton of stats, is unable to move, and will pull its target into range. The first thing to note is that ranged units don't really trigger the pull animation all that much, since they can usually reach their target. Things get way more interesting if you put this anomaly on a melee unit and then place it in your own back row. Now the question is, who actually gets pulled? The answer is whoever the unit would path towards. This means you can intentionally create holes in your own front line to manipulate the path your unit would take, and this can result in you pulling the enemy main tank into your own backline. In a way, this tech works quite similar to the full mana Leona from set 8. In fact, you can give deep roots to Sevika, and if she rolls the flamethrower, she would be able to take down the enemy main tank all by herself in the backline. One anomaly that hasn't seen that much play yet is called the Repulsor, and it can be surprisingly fun to play around. Your unit gains attack speed and on cast knocks back the target if it's within 2 hexes. There was the idea to give this to Ambessa, since she likes to jump behind the enemy frontline, and this could potentially create a setup that knocks back the enemy frontline in a way that she aggro drops and starts attacking the enemy carries. Another setup that also showed a bit of promise was to give this to Akali. Her ability makes her dash backwards before connecting to her target again. By using Repulsor, you push the target towards the enemy backline, and this might bring Akali into a much better position. It can be quite annoying if Akali is stuck on the enemy frontline, and using Repulsor might be the solution to this problem. Though keep in mind, this is not super reliable, as the target is pushed back to the enemy 3rd row, which places Akali into the enemy 2nd row. From this position, she often ends up attacking the enemy frontline from behind instead of going for the enemy carries. While I did cover Thornskin in a short before, there are a few more things I would like to share. In case you don't know, Blighting Jewel has an amazing interaction with Thornskin because the anomaly doesn't have a cooldown. If you have an isolated frontliner with this combo, you can quickly reduce the entire enemy frontline to 0 magic resist. By itself, this is a very powerful effect, but you still need a team that can make use of this. For example, if you give the combo to Mundo, this obviously makes him quite strong, but if you end up playing Twitch carry in the back line, then you don't actually have have that many units on your team to abuse the fact that the enemy frontline is weak to magic damage. The dream scenario is to have a strong Ludens carry, for example, someone like Lux 3-star. The moment you get a good overkill, the Ludens damage will easily take care of the entire enemy team, since none of the damage in the frontline gets reduced, which quickly results in wiping out the enemy team. To be honest, before making this video, I didn't even know about the Anomaly Force of Friendship. It grants 1% damage amp for each star level on your board, though 3-star champions grant 8% damage amp instead. The way it works reminded me a bit of the Arcana emblem from set 12, so I was curious if you could abuse the Suspicious Trenchcoat again. In this example, Draven has the Anomaly and this Violet in the frontline has a Trenchcoat. After she splits, you can see that Draven gains an additional 24% damage amp, meaning all of the copies do count towards the Anomaly. The only problem here is that the copies stop counting once they're taken out, but if you give them something like Edge of Night to keep them around longer, then you might be able to reap the full benefits from this interaction. One of the anomalies that is honestly very underplayed is called Center of the Universe. Your units gain 6 stars that orbit around them, with each dealing 70 magic damage. The key part about this anomaly is that the orbit will expand to hit the champion's current target. Now, what exactly happens if you give this anomaly to someone with a fish bones, or better yet, someone like Twitch? His ability grants him infinite range for 6 attacks and random targeting, which has a rather hilarious interaction with Center of the Universe. I don't know if I would go as far as calling this strong, but it definitely makes for an amazing visual experience. Watching the stars hop all over the place, trying to keep up with Twitch, always brings a smile to my face, and I definitely want to give this a try with Fishbones as well and see how far I can push this. With the Augment, another anomaly, you can also try transforming your board into your own personal light show. There are some pretty wild strategies out there that are often looking for the anomaly Mage Armor. Your units gain 40% armor and magic resist, equal to 40% of ability power. There are a few ways to gain rather insane amounts of AP. For example, you can run a Dominator that's either stacking Archangel or is set up to cast as much as possible. Another idea is to utilize the Perfected Shimmer Bloom for units like Mundo, Mordekaiser or Silco, because they can quickly reach over 1000 AP. Though, truth to be told, this one doesn't exactly look like it's working as intended. Speaking of not intended, I feel like Hero Singed can also be a good candidate for Mage Armor, since you can easily give him 2 Archangels, or you try the very convoluted tech based around aerial warfare and mittens. No matter which path you take, Mage Armor is definitely underrated, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing it more in the future. Since there is so much to talk about, I can definitely see myself making a part 2 on this topic. It definitely feels like we've only scratched the surface on what's possible. What is your personal favorite anomaly in this set so far? Let me know in the comments. I hope you learned something and see you next time.